Sin runs deep, your grace is more. Your grace is found, is where you are. Where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. Worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. Worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. Worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul will sing Your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His sin runs deep. Your grace is more. Your grace is found, is where you are. Where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. Worship Your holy name.
So hello, everybody. Welcome to our Follow Your Faith for tonight. Beside me on my left is my niece, Theresa. People keep asking me what Teresa's name is. They keep saying, what's your niece, your niece? You never said her name. So Theresa Tarvis, as you saw that, and Jerry's here, and Steve's here. And you're welcome to join us by way of YouTube on the YouTube channel. And you can pick your comments there. And if you like, you keep your comments confidential. You can comment us on that phone number that's on the screen right now. So let's pray for a moment, and then we'll begin. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon us as we continue this journey of life. All of us in this room are searchers for the truth, searchers for the meaning of life. So bless us on our search as individuals, bless us on our search together. And help us to learn from one another as we continue that journey, that search for the truth, for life together. And we ask this in your name, Jesus. Amen. Very good. So, Theresa, I think I remember our first time we started talking about this was Thanksgiving, and a while ago. And so why don't you tell us a little bit, you can talk about Thanksgiving if you want to, why you are a former Catholic, and a little bit about why you claim to be agnostic.
Okay, should I introduce myself first?
Yes, I'm sorry. Jumping right in. Sorry about that. Introduce yourself first. That'd be a good idea.
So I am Theresa Tarvis. I live in State College, Pennsylvania. I work at Penn State Law, which is the law school at University Park. Mm-hmm. I went to law school, and I also have my master's in library information science. So I am a law librarian. I teach
a law librarian.
Law librarian.
Okay.
I teach first year students and upper level students how to do legal research. I'm saying this because I think it is important for the way that I operate as far as preparing and doing research and things like that. So that's a little bit of my background. I have 2 kids, a almost 7-year-old Jillian and a 3-year-old Zach. And I am married to my husband, BJ, who is in the other room.
He's over in the other room over here. We wouldn't let him in the room here.
He's not allowed in the room while we're talking.
Yes.
And yeah, so you want me to tell you about how we got here?
Jump in. I think we're all curious about that. Could you tell them how this all got started? That's getting you here in the room together.
Yeah, so we were talking at Thanksgiving about things like abortion and transgender and a lot of the arguments with school boards and banning books and religion in public schools. And
for a librarian, that's a rather big subject. You know?
And you mentioned something about Marty being your questioning something about him being a skeptic, and I said, oh, I could do that, and you said, okay, so why don't you come? And I said, okay. And then I guess my dad mentioned it again a couple months ago.
Susie actually was the one who mentioned it, and he was there. He said, why aren't you having Theresa on? When are you having doing that? I said, yeah, it's a good idea. Marty went golfing. And by the way, Marty's watching us. Right?
Oh, okay.
All this too. And he went golfing. And so you and I talked a couple times to prepare for this. And you came up with a title, The Musings of a Former Catholic.
Yeah, and I should also say that I have watched the live before, and I made a comment when I was here that you did an episode, I guess it was short, it was either right before Roe v. Wade got overturned or right after, where you were talking about women's health, and I said, hey, you had a whole episode where you talked about women's health, but you didn't have any women in the room.
It was me and Marty doing all that one. Yes, you're right. Yes.
So I said, you need to diversify your speakers a little bit. You bring in some women if you're going to talk about women's health issues.
Which was absolutely correct. We should have done that. Yes. So again, former.
I don't know. Former Catholic sounds. I think it's not that I am against Catholicism or any religion, really. It's more that I describe myself as agnostic because I don't know what I think the truth is or what the answer is. And I'm not the person that can say that. I can't say that God and Jesus exist. I can't say that Catholicism or Christianity is the quote right religion. And, there were some events in my life that I felt like this isn't where I want to be with my kids and my family.
Could you share some of those?
Yeah, sure. So, I'll start first. I think my move away from the church was kind of a slow roll, except there were 2 bigger events that I think kind of really kind of pushed the needle forward a little faster. The first was when I was in college. So I actually went to church up through my sophomore year of college. I went every week, every Sunday or Saturday night, wherever.
Penn State grad?
Yeah, Penn
Okay.
State. Yeah, so we went to church on campus, and it was a good experience. I went with my roommates often, and
who live here in Johnstown.
Yes, 3 of them. Yes. Actually, 4 of them were from
from this parish,
and from this parish. Yeah.
From this parish. They're not living in New York City, but they're from this.
It's
parish.
a small world.
Yes.
And we got this new priest, and right from the beginning when he came in, he was very, I don't know the right word. He tended to shame college students, and I remember telling you at the time that it was really hard to, you're a college student. It's Saturday night. You're getting yourself ready to go out, but first you're going to go to church, and you're sitting there listening to someone tell you that you shouldn't do all of the things that college students do. Like, you shouldn't go to parties, and you shouldn't drink alcohol, and you shouldn't do all of these things. And it just was like, well, then why am I here? I'm showing up. I want to be here, but you're making me feel like a really bad person. And I wasn't the only one. It was terrible because church, right before church would start, they would announce who was presiding that night. And if they said his name, many people would get up and leave.
Wow.
Because it was so.
And he was the chaplain.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
Whew. How long was he there?
I'm not sure, but I think then he went to Seton Hall while I was in law school at Seton Hall. I was
Oh,
like,
gosh, he
wow,
followed
that was
you.
weird.
He followed you. Okay.
So that was when I stopped going to church, because I felt like I don't need to be in this community if you can't treat me with respect and you're just going to shame me for being here. And like, as college students go, I think I was I had an appropriate amount of fun in college without being anything that I shouldn't have been doing. So I wasn't doing anything crazy that most college students aren't doing.
No, I remember you always having a book in your hand, usually.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So that was sort of like that was when I stopped going to church, but I wasn't, I didn't consider myself agnostic at that point. That sort of happened more towards, the 2016 election, which maybe is a bad thing, politics kind of, really turning that needle for me. And so I graduated from college in 2004. So it's not like I all of a sudden was like, well, now I'm not Catholic. But I just saw the way that people that identified as Christians were treating each other and were treating people. And I thought, my impression of being in an organized religion would to be build a sense of community. And I didn't feel that from the people that I was seeing that, and this is, it was on TV, but also at my local level where people were fighting with each other and saying things that I just thought, you're supposed to be, if you're a Christian, you're supposed to be accepting and loving to all people. And yet the way you're treating people is not how I want my kids to be in a community. I don't want them to see the kind of behavior that's happening here. And so that's really where I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this. And so that's really when
So the biggest thing we've talked about a couple of times is, why do people in religion judge and condemn others? That's a big criticism that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to say to defend against that. Do people religion do that? I think yes, they do. In many ways, I don't think it's part and parcel of the mystery of Jesus at all. I don't know him of being that way at all, as I read the scriptures, and I have read all that. And so the biggest concern you have is that, and I think it's a valid concern because I see it too, in many ways. And I think the 2016 election was particularly bad.
Yeah, and I know that the communities involved, many of the communities involved in that were not necessarily Catholic. Like, there's evangelicals, there's different parts to Christianity. It was just, but I could see people in my local community treating each other in a way that I thought,
Your local Catholic community.
My local Catholic community, people who were using their religion to judge or condemn other people. And that's the part that I really took issue with, that, and that whole time was.
Well,
really
how did that bring you
contentious.
to being agnostic?
I mean, it's not between college, when I stopped going to church, there were other things, smaller things that happen. If you know me, I'm a rule follower. And so,
So she wasn't out there getting blasted every Saturday night,
No. And then I went to law school, and there's lots of rules you can follow when you're.
Someone had a question about law, and they asked me, this is off the subject, they were asking me, does she believe law is the truth? Somebody asked me that question. And
No.
I bet she would say no to that.
No. There's a lot of things in the law that are not, that I take issue with, for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the agnostic thing.
But I felt, so growing up and learning about Jesus and the 10 Commandments and the sort of rules of the church, and I really took them to heart. We were going to talk about love thy neighbor, that was really what I took away from it. Jesus is this person who's all loving and all accepting, and he loves the people who aren't necessarily
He loved the riffraff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I see people who claim to be living their religion, who are doing the exact opposite of loving thy neighbor.
So what do you guys think about that? What do you think about the fact that here's someone looking maybe from the inside and then from the outside and saying, whoa, here's Jesus, who probably was more accepting than anybody else on the planet. And all of a sudden, here we are, these Christians, and us too, as Catholics, all of a sudden being the exact opposite of that. Now, one of the questions you had for me was, what do people typically respond to whenever I tell them that people outside of the church see us in two ways? Number one, they see us as judgmental. And second of all, they see us as hypocritical. So what do you think about that? Is there any way, shape, or form, folks, anybody here, and Jerry, you're going to have to pick up on this one. Yeah. Can anybody defend the fact that people of religion actually, in their condemning and judging, are acting as disciples of Jesus Christ in any fashion? Jerry?
Linda has a good comment. She says, I agree. We are taught to judge ourselves and others based mainly on sexual morality rather than caring for one another. It does tend to boil down to personal sin rather than Jesus' good news for all. You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, just curious if anybody else thinks about all those different things. So again, we're still zooming into the agnostic thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think that's an important thing, because I've known some people who are agnostic in my life, fascinated by their search, fascinated. Because as one agnostic told me one time, you can't be lazy and be an agnostic at the same time. You got to be a searcher. There's no such thing as a lazy agnostic in any way. So anyway.
I mean, do you want to see my searching?
Oh, okay. What is in there?
There's a lot of.
Oh my gosh! I see abortion. I see transgender.
Public schools. I had
notes. Okay.
I have some other stuff that I pulled in there. I am nothing if not thorough when I'm looking up information. I mean, that's my job, and I'm teaching people how to do that. So, so yeah, I mean, I think part of me wants to believe in a higher power. I just can't say who that person is. You know, sometimes I think when I was a kid and when I was like still practicing, I prayed a lot. But now it's more like I'm thinking about the universe, or like I'm not thinking about a specific person, because I just don't know.
Well, just because for me, Jesus is the player. Catholic Church to me is where I seek this person, but for me, he's the core, he's the player. Where does he fit into the search?
Well, I think he was a real person. I think he was a historical figure. I just can't say, you know, I think about, I've had conversations with my dad about like, where does the Bible come from and things like that. And I'm like, people sat down and wrote that. They picked and chose what they put into it. The same way people picked and chose what to put into any historical text or whatever. And here's where my feminism is going to come out. But at the time, it was written by men, without the voice of women, without the voice of people in society who were considered beneath other groups of people.
Well, now remember, these guys that wrote this were part of the riffraff themselves.
Well, but like part of the riffraff, the way we would define it today, or part of the riffraff?
I think as we would find it then. First of all, Matthew, who was the inspiration for his gospel, was probably the most hated person in Capernaum. Peter, who would be the inspiration of Mark's gospel, would have been a fisherman, which was an illiterate, basically. Luke probably was smart. He was probably smart. He was a Gentile, probably was pretty smart. John, or the beloved disciple, whoever that guy was, was just pretty much of a mystic, but we don't know even who that guy is. But I would, for the first 300 years, I think we would say that most believers were the hoi polloi, because there was no advantage to be a believer if you had position.
But they wrote their parts, but then who put them in the Bible? Someone read them and decided what to put into the Bible. So who am I to say that what got put in the Bible is the true correct record of everything that happened? There could have been.
It certainly is not the true correct record of everything that happened. I think it's part of it. But I'm old fashioned to believe the Holy Spirit was a player with all that stuff. So.
Well, this is where the agnostic comes in. I can't. That's fine for you to believe that, but I can't say that that's what happened. I can't say that I believe that. So
no, the church actually claims the Bible as we know it today was actually no more, no less in the 1500s. it took them 1,500 years to figure that kind of stuff out in a certain way. So anyway, but I don't want to get into that discussion too much with all that. But so you're seeing all this. You're seeing the church primarily as a human institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see
Any
God
religion.
acting and okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think I guess so. One of my questions for you was, why do people think that their religion is the correct religion? Why do Catholics think that their religion is the correct religion? How can you say?
And that kind of, I wrote that down over here. What do you mean by correct religion? What do you mean by that?
So, I mean, there are several religions that are based on the same, path of God. I'm gonna totally forget my
The sort of the Judeo-Christian tradition.
Yeah.
Muslim, Islam,
right.
all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not all of them. So
No.
like Buddha, Hindu.
That's very different. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you know that what your religion is? Do you think well, maybe that's the different question. Do you think your religion is the one that is right compared to Buddhism or Hinduism or Islam or Judaism?
Well, okay, would I be, if I didn't believe that I could find the truth here, would I be kind of foolish to be on this path?
Yeah, but how do you know? How do you know that?
I don't know. I don't. See, there's maybe, you're going to say, oh, you're agnostic. I'm going to say, no, I'm not agnostic. But so we walk by faith and not by sight. So there's nothing here. I would concede to you. There's nothing here that I can prove empirically about any of this. I believe there's evidence that all this is true, but I cannot prove, and in the same way, flip side, you cannot prove to me empirically that this doesn't exist,
Right.
all this.
Correct.
So I have to believe in the evidence. You have evidence on your part that this doesn't exist. And so there is a
So wait, I'm
certain
going to
risk.
stop you. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm
Okay.
saying I don't know.
Okay, right.
I don't
Okay,
know.
you're right. I'm claiming that in my life, I'm claiming that the Catholic Church. Now, I left the church for a while, I don't know if you know that part of the story of my life. I may
college.
not have said it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. From my 20s to 24, I sort of just took off. But so, why did I even say that? So whenever I began my search, all of a sudden my search kind of took me back to this Catholic Church again through this person of Thomas Merton. I'm not saying that people cannot find the truth outside of the Catholic. I'm not saying that. If you're an authentic Buddhist, an authentic Hindu, an authentic evangelical, or an even authentic agnostic, I am not saying you cannot find the truth. What I would claim is I can find the truth in this path called the Catholic Church. And I am completely, totally invested. I think you have to do that. I think dabblers, Joseph Campbell, have you ever heard of Joseph Campbell? Joseph Campbell was someone who dabbled in pretty much every religion in many different ways. And at the end of his life, his comment he made was, I made a huge mistake by not fully investing myself in one. So I am fully investing myself in this Catholic faith, even though, humanly speaking, it's a train wreck. And I see the train wreck on the outside, but I see humanity as one great big train wreck, with all this. And so underneath all that, and by the way, this is not the only, but to be a Catholic is to be a train wreck. I think you have to claim, if you're really serious about that I'm a train wreck. And so I need somehow something to heal me. And so the whole point of me for being a Catholic, now, you're not asking me, you're asking me a more broad question, but I don't know how to answer this for other folks. So for me, it's a way to find Jesus. Now, I do believe that Jesus is the answer. I am kind of convinced. If I'm wrong about this, well, I am. But I believe that everybody that passes from this world to the next is going to meet that guy. And so do I think my religion is correct? I think it's an authentic, truthful path. I believe the Church of Jesus Christ subsists in the Catholic Church, but on the human level, we're a wreck.
Do you think that other people think that there's more than one authentic path? So you said, because you did say that you think
I can find the truth of life. Jerry, you were going to say something. Good.
Well, I have things all over the place here, so I'll try to keep them in order here. Linda's an example. Is I don't think Catholicism is the correct religion. I believe God reveals God to people in their time and culture. In Father's house, there are many rooms, quote from the Bible. Someone else said,
You probably say
there are
something
many
like that.
paths.
Yeah.
I choose the way, you know. This is interesting. These are the ones that everybody else can't see. These are the ones people come.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. You're getting a bunch of those.
Because I
Bunch
feel
of
like
texts.
this too. I think personally, I think we're all so judgmental. Those of us who aren't religious and those of us who are religious. I mean, there's lots of judging going on out there.
Absolutely.
Because
We
one person
talk
said-
about that in our conversations together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
right,
were not,
yeah.
but then again, we should be above it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, we're going to get to that because one person said, well, what about Christians that aren't that way? You know, we all have this negative reaction to people. We've all had that priest or that preacher or somebody that's got a Bible under their arm that's just like, are you kidding me? You know?
Yeah.
Okay. But that's, you know, you can point to any religion and any ethnicity, anything, and say, that's why I don't want to be like that. You know? But here's one. Christ was so accepting and his followers should emulate him. Politics can be so divisive, but we can't let that define us.
But it does oftentimes. It
Well, it
does.
does.
I remember talking to a priest. He said, I think my people's politics defines them more than Jesus does.
Yes, yeah.
That to me, I'd be jumping out of my
I've
skin.
always felt that, you know, the politics, like everything else, should come from if God is top of the list. Politics is something that you use as kind of a container or a guide. But so many people make politics their religion.
Yeah,
So many
yeah,
people
yeah,
cast
yeah.
out Christian or Jewish or whatever beliefs because it doesn't fit their politics.
Right.
And that's a big problem.
Yeah.
That's my pontificating. A lot of laws are we currently adhere to today have been evolved from the Bible, inspired by God's truth.
Yeah, the
So-
Judeo-Christian tradition has influenced our culture tremendously. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's really interesting because I didn't bring all my research on that. But when we had our meeting on Tuesday, I said I was doing all this research on how Christianity has shaped the law.
Yeah.
And we ended up not going down that path. So I didn't bring all of that.
Because I don't know
But-
anything about the laws. So,
But I was telling you that it was really interesting to look at journal articles. Like
Yes,
if
remember
you're
that, yeah.
familiar with law schools at all, they all have a major journal that's called we have the Penn State Law Review, there's the Harvard Law Review, and then they might have some specific like topical journals. And I was just doing a very simple search, law and Christianity, and it was very interesting to see the articles that were in law reviews from schools that identify as Roman Catholic or religious schools versus the articles that were in sort of
Secular,
secular
yeah,
schools. Because it was just by reading the titles. I didn't even read any of the articles. Just by reading of the titles, you could see how the bias comes in, depending on what your viewpoint is. And
what are your thoughts? I have to ask you this. What's your thoughts about the Supreme Court these days?
I mean,
That's off the subject. We're way off the subject here with all that one. But go ahead.
I am disappointed in the Supreme Court. I'm disappointed in our lawmakers. I'm disappointed in government in general. I think
I will join you in that. I am disappointed in lawmakers in general. Yes, absolutely disappointed.
I'm disappointed
half
in the
of them
way I think some of the Supreme Court justices got on the court because I don't think it was done in an objective way. It was very much politicized. And I mean,
Yes.
I think it's ridiculous to say that the courts are not political. They are much more obviously political.
Aren't they supposed to be
now.
non-political?
They are supposed to be non-political,
all right,
but it's
okay.
really hard to say. Like, for example, Justice Scalia, who's no longer on the court, he was a conservative justice forever. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, also no longer on the court, was a liberal justice forever. So but yet they worked together. Like, I felt that they didn't let, of course they let their beliefs or what they thought was right by way of the country or by way of the law, but I didn't feel like the animosity or the
Well, that's a
the
good word. Animosity is a good word.
politicization of the court was happening at that point, even though any court opinion you read from either of them is likely on one side of the other.
What were we talking about before I let Jerry in there? I forget. Jerry, what were we talking about before that? Steve, remember?
Oh, geez, I don't know. 'Cause
Well-
I'm just looking at these questions. I was flagging you down.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Let me just ask you a bunch of questions. I was sitting in a room with a bunch of folks, and I said, "What should I ask Theresa?" And they were ramming. They were coming one after the other. Questions like, "Do you have any kind of a faith life at all?"
So I guess I have a question. I'm going to answer.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
What do you mean by a faith life? Do you mean religion?
Good. No. Okay. No. Faith life. I mean, how about a higher power? Is there a belief, where do you risk? If we're both of us are risking something here, what is the great risk you're undertaking in your life, moving forward, searching for the truth? Faith would be that risk in my mind.
I don't know, the universe, I guess.
Is the universe going to let you down at all?
I mean, it does.
Or does that let you down at all? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like believing that things are going to work out in the end.
All right.
Eventually.
Do you have any kind of evidence that might be the case?
I don't.
Given it's up to us, you know.
Well, I mean, what is up to us and what's not up to us? It's hard to say. You know, I mean, even talking about free will or talking about
that'd be a conversation one day.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, when I was, looking in the questions that you gave me and sort of doing my own research and thinking about, are you born the way God made you?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is a question for you. Does that mean that everything that happens in your life is preordained? Do you not have that free will, or do you have free will? So this, thinking about things like LGBTQ or transgender or something, like you were born the way that you are. How?
You mean by male, female? You're talking about?
No, I mean, I guess more like with your personality, your brain, your soul, whatever.
Okay, gotcha.
Not physically. Mentally, internally.
Yeah.
And if Catholics believe that God made you this way,
I would say no, because then let's go to something a little simpler. Let's go Down syndrome or something like that. Does God actually intend that person to be Down? No, I would not say that. No, that's in a way in the Bible, Jesus goes to the tomb of his best friend Lazarus and he cries. Why is he crying? One of the reasons why he's crying, he's like, it wasn't meant to be this way. When sin entered the world, and we can go back and forth about Adam and even the whole meaning of the story, but when sin entered the world, all of a sudden a corruption occurred that God never intended. And this whole idea of evil, let me just ask you that. What are your thoughts about evil in the world? Is there a personal evil, like we would call Satan or the devil? Is there such a thing as one person said, the evil in the world today cannot just be the sum total of human stupidity. There has to be something more at play, given how organized it seems to be sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I don't know how many people listen to true crime things, or that's sort of like a fascination in the United States. True crime.
I don't.
But if you think about like a serial killer or something like that, I have a really hard time wondering how they got that way, because I certainly don't identify as that. I mean, even, I'm sorry, now I'm going to switch back to transgender, not because I'm trying to talk about it, but there was a point where I was doing a lot of research into like, how does it feel to be transgender? Because I have never felt that way. I was born a female and I feel that way and I identify that way. And I was trying to figure it out. Like, what is it that makes them feel differently? I don't have an answer for that. I could not.
Because I don't either. And one of the questions we were going to talk about with all that, with transgender, we were going to talk about that. And that must be, what kind of research would you come up with? What was the conflict they must experience?
Well, so the research I did, I think, was the wrong research. I mean, I was looking sort of like, what is there, like a neurological difference, or is there something? Because you were talking about mental illness, and I was kind of like trying to figure out how to tease that out. And the articles that I read said that there is a difference. Like it looks like there's the brain identifies with the perceived gender, not with the
So perception
assigned
is a big
gender.
part of that somehow. Yeah, I've heard that. There's a perception's a big part of that. But I need more research for all that one to make any decisions about that. But let me just simply say, now, if anybody who's transgender, who's homosexual or whatever, and wants to come to our church to find Jesus, would they be interested? There's my question. Would they be interested in finding Jesus at all?
I would say the way that I see people who are part of the Catholic Church or Christianity talk about or treat them, then no. Why would you want to come to a place where some people are going to treat you as if you are wrong? Your whole life is wrong. So why would you?
What would they? Let's suppose the church drastically changed and they were really truly welcoming. Would they come? Do you think they would come and seek this person of Jesus Christ? And would it make a difference?
For their lives?
Yes.
Or for I mean, so I can't speak to their experiences because I'm not in that community. But I can recognize them for who they are. I mean, there's, going back to the love thy neighbor, that
Yeah.
I don't see any
Absolutely.
issues with that.
We're in complete agreement about that.
But
There's no doubt about that.
I don't know. I think if you're talking about evangelicals where there's conversion therapy and all of these things, if that's such
Oh,
a
no.
painful.
I'm not
Oh, no, I
advocating
know.
that.
But I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, if that's what their experience was,
Oh, that'd be bad.
then why would they come? Why would they want to come back? Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Jerry, go ahead.
This is kind of along the line. Lisa's asking, Theresa, how do you view what the world has become? I think you've kind of alliterated that some, but what process do you think would make it whole again? So I guess what they're asking is if outside of Christianity, you got any recommendations?
How religion the church would get whole or the world?
She has an idea, I mean, 'cause
okay.
if you're outside of religion, because that's kind of what we're all about, is like, well, we think Jesus, if everybody believed in Jesus, it would make the world whole. But if there isn't a Jesus, is there a suggestion?
BJ and I were talking about this on the way here, because one of the questions that you had for me was, no, it's on the front page, I think. How would, if you would try to fix religion, how would you do it? At first I was like, I don't know the answer. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. And I don't know how you change a system or something as powerful as the church. And then BJ was like, well, what about the power? And I was like, well, you're right. There is sort of this hierarchical power, and that comes from the top down, just like any other system in our government, in our companies, in anything. And I think that, and not only that, but you don't have all the voices in the room. You don't have all the people to contribute. So
Let me ask the same question this way. Now, in the early church, the disciples of Jesus, by and large, believed that Jesus was going to go to Jerusalem. He was going to restore the Davidic kingdom, and he was going to kick out the Romans. Obviously, he had no political agenda whatsoever. Didn't want to do any of those different things. And so their preconceived notions had to be shattered in a certain way for them to begin to believe Jesus and what he was about. Now, in my mind, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, I don't know that you remember, I had this conversion experience in my life. It was a before and after my life. And I claim that it was an experience of Jesus Christ as alive and present in my life that changed everything for me, which becomes the great to this day, at the age of 24, this becomes the great motivation of my life to this day. So if faith isn't about what I think or me figuring it out, it's about an experience of Jesus Christ, an experience of him, which actually he offers us his own divine life, which changes us. What do you think as you sit here now about, and that your dad had such an experience as he would claim, even though he still argues about everything under the sun, so
No.
yeah. So what do you think about that experience of conversion as part and parcel of the search? if that made any sense to you.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I would say I haven't experienced that, so it hasn't changed anything for me, other than like my experiences. I feel like have converted me away from wanting to come.
Yes.
Instead of it's pushed me away instead of bringing me back in.
Okay. So given all that, okay, I understand. If and in my own life, many preconceived notions had to be shattered. It's still being shattered over and over again. What would you say would be the most important preconceived notion that you find Christians having that needs to be shattered for them to somehow become the faith or the church that Jesus you would want to see? Does that make sense?
Yeah, except I don't know if it's like a thing that needs to be shattered or more like going back to the basics of the religion of like thinking I am not so this is me doing my version of what I learned in religion.
Okay, all right.
That
Okay.
Jesus is the center. You're not the center.
Correct.
And if you
And politics are not the center.
right. If you are living your life like Jesus would have lived his life, then how can you go wrong? Like, and to me, I mean, you know, when I was in middle school, I guess those WWJD bracelets were popular, the What Would Jesus Do bracelets. So it's almost like thinking, if you're on Facebook and you see something that you don't like, and you're gonna leave a comment before you type in what you want to say, that this is, you know, let me think of an example. I'll give you an example.
All right.
We had a school board. We had a person who was going to come in as an intern from Liberty University to be a guidance counselor intern. And do you know Liberty University?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
that is Jerry Falwell's place.
yeah. So
Jerry Falwell set back Christianity about 100 years of some of the stuff he said. So,
well, anyway,
and his uncle or whatever runs it, that was worse. So
there were some concerns from parents that the way that they taught their students was that was going to be brought into public schools because we're a public school. And so all they did was he is an intern at the school. They just made sure that he knew that he had to follow the policies of the school district, not the policies of Liberty. So fair. But then it got posted on Facebook by someone, I won't say who, someone related to him. And the comments were like, look at these people who want to bring Satan into our schools. Look at these liberals that want to do all these things. And I, you know, I looked at it and I thought,
you being the
not,
liberals?
Yeah, me being like
Okay,
the parents that were concerned about bringing religion into the public school. Not me. I wasn't there.
Yeah,
And I just thought, well, I think it's a legitimate concern. It worked out that he wasn't kept from being in the school. He just has, you know, as any person that comes in as an intern has to abide by the school district's policies. But the way people were talking about it, it just made me think, could you take a minute and think about it before you post that? Like now it's out on social media. I saw it. I'm not friends with those people. So it's not just to your friends or whatever. But if you think about like, what would Jesus do in that moment? Would he have done that? Would he have sat on Facebook and spouted off? I mean, there were many comments that I was just like, this is totally unnecessary.
Someone said to me today, they said, you know, you can only heal an institution from the inside. You really can't heal it from the outside looking in. Have you ever thought of trying in some fashion to come back to the church at all in any way as part of your search and maybe trying to heal this thing called the church?
I have not thought about doing that. I don't know. I guess I think my kids, my goal for them is to teach them to be kind and respectful of everyone. And I want to be the one that's giving them that message.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that the churches in where I live are the place to do that.
Okay, across the board pretty much. Jerry?
First of all, Theresa, this last comment. I like Theresa. She's sweetly courageous, sharing her experiences. God bless you, T.
Was that her bro? Was that her husband?
No, I don't think. But the comment this person made before was, we have just enough religion to hate. Now's the time to find out how this Jesus loves. So this is a good believer, but
I'm
people in
going
their life,
to ask you
you're
a bunch of questions here real quick.
yeah.
Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
Religion,
I think I got the question number 2 so
Yeah,
far.
I'm going to back up a minute because way back there was a question about, how you are raising your children, like what are they going to decide? And then maybe follow that up with this one. You say your experience pushed you away. How did your religion beliefs just change? So I think you explained that, but anyway. So let's
So
go back to your children, I guess.
yeah, sure. So my husband and I don't keep religion from them. Just the other day, Jillian was watching YouTube Kids, and they had kids Bible stories, and she watched the story of Passover. She watched the story of Easter. I gotta say, I don't remember it being so violent when I was a kid, but I'm sitting next to her listening to it, and they're talking about Passover and like the firstborn child and nailing Jesus to the cross, and I'm thinking like, my gosh, like I'm sure I heard them, but so I said to her like, oh, what are you watching? And she said, oh, I'm watching these stories. And I said, okay. She has brought home Hanukkah books from the library that we read, and we talk about what the story of Hanukkah is. And so it's not like we're keeping religion out of their lives. They're free to decide what they want to decide, and I'm happy to answer. I mean, as with anything, I will answer their questions in an age appropriate way and tell them what I think is the truth as far as I understand it. And so, and my ultimate goal is to raise them to be kind and respectful and accepting of all people, even if whether they end up in religion or not.
You got another one over there. Go ahead.
Another one goes along with that too, and I think this is asked. It's in a spirit of love. This was a question that was asked way back. They noticed when we did an opening prayer, you made the sign of the cross.
I noticed it too. I picked. I
Now,
know
it could be a culture thing. It's no judging or anything. This person asked that, and I think I know, getting to know you, probably why you did. But can you explain what was that all
Just 'cause
about?
I was here and you're praying, and I'm not gonna, it's a respectful thing to do. So like,
It's like wearing a yarmulke if I come into a
Yeah.
Jewish thing. Yeah.
you mentioned, everyone judging, and we had talked about that, and I'm not judging anyone for having religion at all. I'm questioning sort of, and maybe it's the vocal minority of the people who are being hypocritical or condemning people.
I don't know if it's a vocal minority. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what that would be with all that. If I could ask you though, in your life right now, in your search, what's the biggest question you have?
I guess
Ask myself, what's the biggest question I have? Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
that's-
Yeah.
one. I just get one.
No, feel free. You get more than one.
I guess, I mean, for me, I always thought that church, like an organized religion or church life, should be a community where people feel accepted. And I don't know that that's,
I absolutely believe. Yeah.
but I don't know that that's what I see.
You're right.
Come to our church.
Yeah,
Well, so
yeah.
I will say my husband and I got married in a Catholic church. You asked why we did it.
Yes.
But we came here for a pre-Cana class.
Yes.
And well, we did one in New Jersey where we lived at the time, and then we came here and met with you. And afterwards, you had a family night with young parents of young kids or something. I don't know. It was before we had kids because we weren't married. And we left there and we were like, if church was like that other places, we would go. Now, when we had gone to church in New Jersey, I think I told you there was a woman in front of me balancing her checkbook. There was like a woman over here, like painting her nail. Like everyone was doing anything but paying attention to what was happening. The priest was like reading his homily, and I was like, I can't, this is not what I want. So, I mean, maybe it's a matter of I haven't found the right community, but I just,
I'd have left too.
I think I would have left that one myself. Yeah.
but it's hard. I mean, you're doing a good job. I hear good, because I do have so many roommates who went to, or from Johnstown and went to your parish, and their parents still.
And I get blowback from folks. we have had people leave the parish because maybe it wasn't political enough, either way. And I think Jesus was completely apolitical myself. But let me ask you, what or who was the center of your life?
I guess my family, my kids and my husband. And
Okay. Have you ever read the Bible?
I have not read the Bible cover to cover, but I did 6.5, 7.5 years of religious education. I went to church up through part of college, so it's not like I didn't learn a few things along the way.
Okay. Anybody in the Bible who would be a role model for you?
I was like Googling women in the Bible to see, and like I read
There's a couple
some-
of books about women in the Bible that they're using for our faith formation class. But anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't think I could give a true answer because I don't remember enough of the women and the details.
Any men by any chance, or is that a bad question?
It's not a bad question. I just probably not. I don't have any specific person.
Would you do anything for Easter?
We had an egg hunt, and the kids got Easter baskets, and then they got put back in the closet about 6 hours later.
Okay. What are your thoughts about unconditional love? And my part of the question is, do you believe that's possible for human beings?
So this is a hard question, and BJ and I were talking about it on our way here, and he believed yes. I came down on the side that I couldn't say yes. Now, I can't say no to every person, but I think you can't generalize it. I think in every, like my initial thought was, well, the way a parent loves a child, that would be unconditional love.
That's as close as it can get, I think, for me, and the human being.
Yeah. But then I thought, well, there's some people that don't love their, maybe they don't stop loving their child, but they're estranged.
There's conditions.
So I
see. I don't think it's possible, but I think that thing that happened on the cross, was the only act of truly unconditional love by a human being ever, and that event is why it's so critically important. Because I think we're too flawed to kind of get it together to really do that myself.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a situation where, maybe I can love my children unconditionally. I can't think of anything that they could do that would make me stop loving them. But I think that there's other parents that.
I think as a mom, most especially, I think that's a true thing. Even more than dads, I think, if I could say it that way. What's your thoughts about Jesus?
As far as role models go, he would be, to me, the one to emulate.
Okay. Do you believe in moral absolutes?
What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, do you have a morality?
Do I have morality?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where does your foundation of that?
Doing what's right.
How do you discover that?
I think societally, or just knowing for myself, like what I think is right.
So you're pretty much the source of what you're gonna come to with all that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. For example, I've written down here. What do you believe in moral absolutes? Like, if this is a moral absolute, I just wrote this out. Like never attacking innocent life. Would that be a moral absolute? That might be a trap
Are you
question.
talking about abortion?
I'm not specifically talking about that, but that could be part of the conversation.
I think that's a decision that people should be allowed to make with themselves.
So people should be allowed to attack innocent life.
Oh, no. Sorry. No.
Okay. Would you say the unborn?
For no reason?
But even if there's a reason, it's still innocent, wouldn't it be? Reading the law here, maybe a little bit. So
I think there's a lot of gray. Yeah. So if you want to bring it back to the law, I think those things aren't black and white. I think there's a lot of gray in them, and you can't put an absolute on it because you don't know the situation. You don't know anyone's specific situation. You don't know what's going on. And so I guess, then I would say, no, there isn't a moral absolute, because there's always going to be a gray area where
I can attack innocent life.
When you say attack innocent life, though, that's a little bit different than.
I think it is. Yeah.
Than having a situation where someone's health is
Well,
or life.
you're allowed to attack the health issue, but am I attacking for example, ectopic pregnancy?
Mm-hmm.
Would I be attacking the unborn, or would I be attacking the issue of the tube? Because if I don't attack that situation, then we're all going to die.
Yeah.
We're all going to die. So I have to attack that particular situation, and the side effect of that is someone is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than I'm that's why the point I'm trying to make is that the attack is specifically toward a specific person that's innocent.
So in an ectopic pregnancy situation, you're saying that
I'm attacking the ectopic
the thing that's going to kill the woman.
I'm attacking the situation that's going to kill everybody, and I have to attack that to be able to deal with. But I'm not directly trying to kill the child. It's part and parcel of the experience, of course. But I'm not actually attacking the child directly as that's not my purpose. My purpose is to take care of the issue in the tube.
So I'm going to answer your question with a question. So in the situation where you have a woman who has a child and a spouse, or maybe she has more than one child, and she gets pregnant, and the pregnancy, her life is in danger because of this pregnancy.
You mean poverty and
no, I don't know even necessarily. Well, it could be that, or it could be that she has a medical issue that if she continues on with this pregnancy, she has a very high chance of dying. So do you protect the unborn life and the mom potentially dies? Or do you
potentially now too? Potentially now.
Like a high chance. Let's say 80%. So 80% chance she's going to die in childbirth, 20% chance she's not.
You'd have to see now here. I'd have to get involved with medicine a little bit, and what is that a straw man, or does that actually exist?
No, that actually. So I'm basing this question. So I thankfully didn't have this issue, but I had a lot of my second pregnancy was very hard, and I luckily never came to that. But I thought, what would I do if they told me that I could die? Do I leave my 3-year-old and my husband, or do I?
And as we both know, that doctors have said that to different mothers who did give birth, and everything was just fine.
Yeah, but I think it's a hard.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's not hard. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not hard. Yeah, that would be hard. But at the same time, I see now that now these don't happen a lot, but they actually they do happen, and I think it's the very difficult moral choice with all that.
But so my personal belief is I should get to make that decision. I don't think the government should tell me that that they're going to make that decision for me. And I think it's a lot harder decision than a lot of people think it is. Like, I feel like the narrative around abortion is that people are just like, oh, I don't feel like being pregnant, I'm going to go get an abortion today. And I think there's a little bit of that. There's some of that. I shared with you when we were talking on the phone about that, but I don't think it's by and large. No.
And I think by and large, it's a whole issue of poverty and stressful situations and being felt alone and trapped and different things like that. This is where the Christian community needs to come into play with all that. We can't be pro-life for the child in the womb. We're not pro-life for the child outside the womb and the mother and everybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, but anyway, you have, what other questions you might have for me with all that?
I do. Well,
we have 3 minutes to go.
So I wanted to ask this question.
Go ahead.
So I'm taking us totally away from hard topics here.
Go ahead.
But when we were talking, you said that you have told people that part of the problem is that people see Catholics or Christians or whoever as hypocritical and judgmental.
Yes.
And
you're absolutely right about that.
But my question for you is, how do people react? What do people?
Now you guys are in the room, Jerry and Steve. Whenever I said to people, do you know what they say about you out there? And they say about you that you're judgmental and you're hypocritical. I pretty much met with silence. That's my, I kind of wrote that down there. I met with silence. I don't know many people. Nobody comes up to me and objects because I think they all know in some level it's true. But I don't think that, I'm not saying they agree with that we're supposed to be judgmental, but I think I think we all see guilty as charged.
I think the people that are watching this show we all have our weed and wheats. They're not perfect at all, but I think we tend to be, just from the comments that we're getting and the comments that you're getting, people are very open to people understand it. They've been where you've been, or they want to learn and hear what the pain is out there and everything. So this isn't a real judgmental crowd that we're playing to tonight.
Well, yeah, and let me be clear too that I'm not saying I am not judgmental.
No,
that's why.
We all
In fact,
are.
before we go, I have to read a few comments here. Well, do you believe in an afterlife? Real quick, 5 seconds or less.
I don't know. It's part of the agnostic.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right.
I would like to, but I
there you
mean,
go.
Teresa, I believe that you are still Catholic. I think the church/world needs people like you if we're going to change the world. That's one person.
They won't let you
So
out.
you're being accused of being a Catholic, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And this one here is,
do I have to
guess
go to
Theresa, I believe she's amazing. She is what the church needs, in my opinion.
that was my dad.
So,
No, I don't know.
well, okay, because he didn't come up as Susie or Russ or anything.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we need more conversations like this. So anyway, anything else you want to share with all of us as we
I don't think so. I
kind
feel
of
like
bring
we
this
didn't.
to a close?
I feel like we didn't get to.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another
but-
comment. Please tell Father Mark and Teresa, thank you. Very interesting. Couple exclamation points. So
Yeah. When people invoke religion to be judgmental or condemn others, how are you following Jesus' love? We talked about that pretty much. I think everything else.
Teresa, please come back. Yeah.
Teresa called me liberal, and I didn't get a chance to comment about that. So
I said
Well, tell them that I
some
am.
of your views. So when I rewrote the question, I said
Yeah.
some of your views are typically quote
Liberal.
liberal.
Right after we went to
views.
prayer and I knew Teresa wasn't watching your laptop, or I typed in, please keep the garment rending to a minimum. So, and everybody was good.
yes.
Just good questions.
So thank you for joining us. I think
sure.
it was a great
Thank you
hour
for
for all
having
of
me.
us, and you're welcome to. You got a lot of comments with all this. Look at this. This is these comments you got, and people will be watching throughout the week as
went
well.
162 people watching live is the number I got. The time I got.
We had more views already than we typically do in a week.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Yes. So thank you, Teresa. You were
Yeah,
you were
thank
a star here.
Thank you.
Next week we'll take up a collection.
So thank you. So God bless us, everybody. God bless all of you on your journey, and let's all be faithful to it. Thank you for watching us very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Very good.